We live in an age of unprecedented comfort, yet we are more anxious than ever before. We have access to infinite information, yet we feel more confused about how to live. We are more connected than any generation in human history, yet loneliness has become an epidemic. The paradox of our time is that we have everything our ancestors dreamed of: technology, medicine, abundance, and yet something fundamental is missing. What is missing is not another app, not another self-help technique, not another productivity hack. What is missing is a philosophy of life, a framework for understanding what truly matters, a practice for building an unshakable inner fortress that no external circumstance can destroy. 2,000 years ago, in the ancient world, a group of philosophers developed precisely such a framework. They called it Stoicism. And today, in this moment of collective confusion and individual struggle, their teachings speak to us with startling relevance and power. The Stoics began with a radical insight that most of us spend our entire lives resisting. We don't control the world around us. We don't control what other people think, say, or do. We don't control the economy, the weather, our health, or even whether we'll wake up tomorrow morning. We don't control whether we get the promotion, whether our relationships work out, whether our children make the choices we hope they'll make. This sounds depressing. It sounds like powerlessness. But the Stoics saw it differently. They saw it as liberation. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor who ruled the most powerful empire on earth, wrote in his private journal, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you'll find strength." Here was a man who commanded legions, who could execute people with a word, who had wealth beyond imagination, and he understood that his true power lay not in any of these things, but in his own mind. The Stoics divided all of existence into two categories: things we control and things we don't control. Things we control are few: our judgments, our intentions, our responses, our character, our effort. Things we don't control are many: other people, the past, the future, our reputation, our body, to a large extent, outcomes. This division, what philosophers call the dichotomy of control, is not just a philosophical concept. It's a practical tool for living. Because when you truly understand and accept what you don't control, you stop wasting your precious life force fighting reality. And when you focus your energy on what you do control, you become genuinely powerful. Think about your own life right now. How much of your suffering comes from wanting things to be different than they are? How much anxiety comes from trying to control outcomes? How much anger comes from expecting people to behave differently than they do? How much grief comes from clinging to what's already gone? The Stoics aren't asking you to stop caring. They're asking you to care about the right things in the right way, to invest your energy where it can actually make a difference. Stoicism was never just a theory. It was a practice, a way of training the mind just as an athlete trains a body. The Stoics developed specific exercises, what modern scholars call spiritual exercises, to strengthen their philosophical muscles. The Stoics began each day by contemplating what challenges they might face. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They're like this because they can't tell good from evil." This sounds cynical, but it's actually the opposite. By anticipating difficulties, Marcus wasn't being pessimistic. He was being prepared. He was removing the shock and surprise that makes us lose our composure. He was practicing what the Stoics called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. You can do this too. Before an important meeting, imagine it going badly. Before traveling, imagine delays and complications. Before a relationship conversation, imagine resistance and misunderstanding. Not to make yourself anxious, but to rob these events of their power to disturb you when they occur. At night, the Stoics would review their day. Seneca wrote, "I make use of this opportunity, daily pleading my case in my own court. When the light has been taken away and my wife has fallen silent, aware as she is of my habit, I examine my entire day and measure my deeds and words. I conceal nothing from myself. I pass nothing by." This isn't about guilt or self-punishment. It's about honest self-examination. Where did you lose your temper today? Where did you act from fear rather than virtue? Where did you waste time on things that don't matter? Where did you do well? Where can you improve? This practice builds self-awareness, which is a foundation of all growth. You cannot change what you cannot see. When caught in the drama of daily life, the Stoics would practice expanding their perspective. They would imagine themselves rising above their immediate situation, seeing their city from above, then their country, then the entire earth as a pale blued out in infinite space. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Asia and Europe, distant recesses of the universe. The ocean, a drop of water. Mount Athos, a little clod of earth. The present, a split second in eternity. All things are petty, easily changed, vanishing away. This isn't nihilism. It's proportion. It's remembering that the argument you're having, the criticism you received, the disappointment you're experiencing, these things are real, but they're not as catastrophic as they feel in the moment. The universe is vast, time is long, and this too shall pass. Perhaps the most counterintuitive Stoic practice is imagining loss. Epictetus taught his students to look at a loved one and remember, you are mortal and they are mortal. To look at cherished possessions and remember, these can be taken away. In our culture, this seems morbid. We believe in positive thinking, in manifesting abundance, in focusing on what we want. But the Stoics understood something profound. Appreciation and gratitude come not from assuming we'll always have what we have, but from remembering we might lose it. When you remember that your partner could be gone tomorrow, suddenly the way they load the dishwasher doesn't seem worth fighting about. When you remember that your health could fail, suddenly you're grateful for your body's ability to move. When you remember that your friends won't be around forever, suddenly you make time for them. The Stoics practiced loss in imagination, so they could appreciate life in reality. The Stoics believed there was only one true good, virtue. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, pleasure, was merely preferred indifferent. Nice to have, but not essential for a good life. This sounds extreme to modern ears. But consider, can you be a good person while poor? Yes. While sick? Yes. While unknown? Yes. Can you be a bad person while rich? Obviously. While healthy? Clearly. While famous? History provides countless examples. The Stoics identified 4 cardinal virtues that compose a good life. Wisdom is seeing reality clearly, understanding what truly matters, and making good decisions. It's the ability to distinguish between what's in your control and what's not. It's knowing the difference between real dangers and imagined ones, between genuine opportunities and seductive distractions. In our age of information overload, wisdom is more valuable than ever. We don't lack data. We lack discernment. We don't lack options. We lack the ability to choose wisely among them. The Stoics cultivated wisdom through study, reflection, and learning from experience. They read philosophy not as an academic exercise, but as a guide to living. They sought out teachers and mentors. They paid attention to their mistakes. Wisdom asks, what is actually true here? What's the reality beneath the appearance? What do I actually know versus what do I assume? What would a wise person do? Courage is not the absence of fear. It's acting rightly despite fear. It's speaking truth when silence would be easier. It's standing up for your principles when conformity would be safer. It's being vulnerable when armor would feel more comfortable. The Stoics lived in dangerous times. They faced war, plague, tyranny, and death. Yet they insisted that physical courage, while admirable, is less important than moral courage. The courage to be honest, to be kind, to do the right thing even when it costs you something. In our comfortable age, we rarely face physical danger, but we face 1,000 opportunities for moral cowardice every day. Every time you stay silent when you should speak up, every time you compromise your values for convenience, every time you take the easy path instead of the right path, you're practicing cowardice. Courage asks, what's the right thing to do here, regardless of consequences? What would I do if I weren't afraid? What would I want to have done when I look back on this moment? Justice is treating others fairly, contributing to the common good, and recognizing our fundamental interconnection. The Stoics believe we're all part of one human family, that what harms one harms all, that we have obligations to each other. Marcus Aurelius wrote, what's bad for the hive is bad for the bee. He understood that we don't flourish alone, that personal virtue is inseparable from social responsibility, that our individual good is bound up with the common good. In our individualistic culture, this teaching is revolutionary. We're taught to look out for ourselves, to maximize our own benefit, to see others as competitors or obstacles. The Stoics would say this is a fundamental misunderstanding of reality. You are not separate from society. You benefit from infrastructure you didn't build, knowledge you didn't discover, security you didn't create. You have received gifts from countless strangers, past and present. Justice means recognizing this and contributing your share. Justice asks, am I treating others as I want to be treated? Am I doing my part? Am I considering the impact of my actions on others? Am I being fair? Temperance is moderation, self-control, and discipline. It's the ability to delay gratification, to resist impulses, to maintain balance. It's not about denying yourself everything. It's about not being enslaved by your desires. The Stoics lived in a world of extreme wealth and extreme poverty, of lavish banquets and desperate hunger. The wealthy Stoics could have indulged in every pleasure, yet they chose restraint. Not because pleasure is bad, but because dependency on pleasure is a form of slavery. Seneca was one of the richest men in Rome, yet he regularly practiced voluntary poverty, eating simple food, wearing plain clothes, sleeping on a hard bed, not as punishment, but as practice. He wanted to prove to himself that he could be happy without luxury, that his well-being didn't depend on external things. In our consumer culture, where we're bombarded with messages that happiness requires buying something, doing something, having something, temperance is radical. It says, you're enough already. You have enough already. The frantic pursuit of more is making you miserable. Temperance asks, do I actually need this? Is this desire ruling me, or am I ruling it? Am I being controlled by habits and impulses? What would moderation look like here? The Stoics didn't just theorize about difficulty. They lived it. Epictetus was born a slave and lived with a permanent physical disability from abuse. Seneca was exiled and eventually forced to commit suicide. Marcus Aurelius ruled during plague, war, and the deaths of most of his children. Yet these men are remembered not as victims, but as exemplars of human excellence. How? They applied what they taught. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is one of the most powerful Stoic principles. The obstacle is not just something to overcome on the way to your goal. It is the way. It's the opportunity to practice virtue, to build character, to become who you're meant to be. The struggle is not a bug. It's a feature. Think about strength training. The resistance, the weight, is what makes you stronger. Without resistance, there's no growth. Life is the same. The difficulties you face are the resistance that makes you stronger. Lost your job? It's an opportunity to reassess what you really want, to develop new skills, to practice resilience. Relationship ended? It's an opportunity to learn about yourself, to grow, to become someone capable of a better relationship. Sick? It's an opportunity to appreciate health, to develop patience, to discover inner strength. This doesn't mean you should seek out suffering or pretend you enjoy difficulty. It means you should extract value from whatever happens, treating every experience as training for life. Nietzsche, drawing on Stoic ideas, wrote about amor fati, loving your fate, not just accepting what happens, but loving it, embracing it, treating your actual life, not the one you wish you had, as the raw material for building something beautiful. Marcus Aurelius said, a blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it. That's you. You're the fire. Whatever life throws at you, success or failure, pleasure or pain, health or sickness, can be transformed into fuel for living well. This is freedom. Not the freedom to have everything go your way. That's fantasy. But the freedom to meet whatever comes with strength, dignity, and grace. The freedom to choose your response. The freedom to find meaning in any circumstance. The Stoics thought about death constantly. Let us prepare our minds as if we'd come to the very end of life. Seneca wrote, let us postpone nothing. Let us balance life's books each day. In our culture, we avoid thinking about death. We hide it away in hospitals, speak of it in euphemisms, distract ourselves endlessly. The Stoics did the opposite. They meditated on mortality daily. Why? Because remembering you will die is the fastest way to clarify what matters. It cuts to the trivial, the petty, the ego-driven. It asks, if you had 1 year to live, would you spend it worrying about what people think? Would you waste it scrolling through social media? Would you stay in relationships that drain you? Would you put off the work that matters? Death is not morbid, it's motivating. It's the ultimate deadline that makes every other deadline meaningful. As Steve Jobs said, channeling the Stoics, remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. The question is not whether Stoic philosophy is true or interesting. The question is whether it works. Can these ancient principles actually improve your life in the 21st century? The answer is yes. Here's how you can start. Right now, make 2 lists. First list, things you're worried about, angry about, or wanting to change. Second list, which of those things are actually in your control? Most of what troubles you, other people's opinions, past mistakes, future outcomes, global events, is not in your control. Notice how much energy you're wasting on these things. Then redirect that energy to what you can control. Your attention, your effort, your responses, your character. This one shift, from trying to control everything to accepting what you can't control and mastering what you can, will reduce your stress dramatically. Tomorrow morning, spend 5 minutes preparing for the day. What challenges might you face? How will you handle them? What kind of person do you want to be today? Tomorrow night, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day. Where did you do well? Where did you fall short? What will you do differently tomorrow? These bookend practices create a container for conscious living. Without them, life happens to you. With them, you're actively shaping who you become. Don't try to master all of Stoicism at once. Choose one virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, or temperance, and focus on it for a month. Look for opportunities to practice it. Notice when you fall short. Study examples of people who embody it. If you chose courage, where are you playing it safe? What uncomfortable conversation do you need to have? What risk do you need to take? What truth do you need to speak? If you chose temperance, what desire is controlling you? What would moderation look like? Where could you practice voluntary discomfort? What would enough look like? One virtue, practiced consistently, will transform your life. The Stoics learned from each other. Epictetus taught students. Marcus Aurelius had advisors. Seneca exchanged letters with friends. You need people who share your commitment to living well. Find them, whether at a book club focused on philosophy, an online community, or just a friend willing to have deeper conversations. Find people who will support your practice and challenge your shortcuts. We become like the people we spend time with. Choose carefully. This speech is an introduction, not a replacement for the source material. Read Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Read Epictetus's Enchiridion and Discourses. Read Seneca's Letters from a Stoic. These texts have survived 2,000 years for a reason. They contain wisdom that speaks across centuries. Read them slowly. Take notes. Argue with them. Apply them. Let them challenge you. Philosophy is not a spectator sport. It's practice. These books are training manuals, not entertainment. Let me be clear about what Stoicism promises and what it doesn't. It doesn't promise that you'll never suffer. You will. Life involves loss, disappointment, pain, and death. These are features of existence, not bugs to be fixed. It doesn't promise that you'll always feel good. You won't. Emotions arise from circumstances, and circumstances change. You'll feel sad sometimes, anxious sometimes, frustrated sometimes. It doesn't promise that following these principles will be easy. It won't. Living consciously, examining yourself honestly, practicing virtue consistently, this is hard work. So what does it promise? It promises that suffering won't destroy you. You'll meet difficulties with resilience, strength, and even growth. What breaks others will forge you. It promises that emotions won't rule you. You'll feel them, acknowledge them, but not be controlled by them. You'll be able to act according to your values, even when you don't feel like it. It promises that your life will have meaning, not handed to you from outside, but created from within, built through your choices, your character, your contribution. It promises that you'll die well, Not necessarily comfortably or without pain, but with dignity. Having lived fully, having tried your best, having become someone you respect. The Stoic promise is simple. You can be unbreakable. Not because nothing will hurt you, many things will, but because you'll have an inner fortress that no external circumstance can destroy. 2,000 years ago, a former slave named Epictetus taught students in a small school in Greece. Among his teachings was this challenge. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Don't wish to be thought to know anything. And even if you appear to be somebody important to others, distrust yourself. This is the price of wisdom. You have to admit you don't already have it. You have to be willing to be a beginner. You have to release your attachment to looking smart, being right, having it figured out. The question this documentary leaves you with is this. Are you willing to pay that price? Are you willing to examine your life honestly? To admit where you're not living according to your values? To practice difficult virtues even when no one's watching? To take responsibility for who you become? Are you willing to read, study, and reflect, not just consume content, but actually think? To sit in silence with challenging ideas? To test principles against reality? Are you willing to fail, look foolish, struggle, and keep going anyway? The Stoic path is not for everyone. It requires effort, honesty, and courage. But for those who walk it, it offers something rare in our anxious age. Genuine peace. Not the fragile peace that depends on everything going your way, but the deep peace that comes from knowing you can handle whatever comes. Not the shallow peace of distraction and avoidance, but profound peace of living with integrity. The ancient Stoics are gone. Their empire has fallen. Their cities are ruins. But their teachings remain, tested by time, proven by millions of people across centuries and cultures. The question is not whether Stoicism works. The question is whether you'll work at Stoicism. Your life is happening now. Every day you're becoming someone. The question is, who? Every choice you make is a vote for the kind of person you're becoming. What are you voting for? The Stoics offer you a path. Not an easy path, but a worthy one. Not a quick fix, but a lifetime practice. Not a promise of happiness, but a promise of something better, excellence. The choice is yours. It has always been yours. And that, ultimately, is what the Stoics understood. You always have a choice. Not about what happens, but about how you respond. Not about the cards you're dealt, but about how you play them. Make it count. Practice wisdom. Practice courage. Practice justice. Practice temperance. Not perfectly. You'll fail often, but consistently. Every day, getting a little better, a little stronger, a little more yourself. This is the way. The Stoic way. Your way. Begin.